Before we get into this, there's one thing you need to know. Charles Blow is never afraid to challenge a bad argument, especially when it comes to Donald Trump and MAGA politics. And tonight, he's facing off against Ben Ferguson over Trump's controversial response to the reflecting pool case. What follows is a tense exchange where Blow questions the logic behind Ferguson's defense of the president and refuses to let the argument slide. Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Now, let's get into the clip and see exactly how this debate unfolds. I'll give you my thoughts at the end.
Pet project on President Trump's mind tonight. He's turning up the heat again on U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro over her decision to drop the reflecting pool vandalism case against the former Olympian David Hearn. Now, the president is demanding that Pirro should, quote, revisit her hastily made decision, his words. Let's talk about it. I got the host of the Ben Ferguson Show, Ben Ferguson, and the creator of Blow the Stack on Substack, Charles Blow. Glad to have both of you gentlemen here this evening. Ben, I'll begin with you here because the president is putting U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro in a pretty tough spot. If she doesn't cave, is the writing on the wall for her?
I don't think the writing's on the wall. I think this is one of the reasons why a lot of people like working for the president. You know where you stand with him all the time. He's not a guy that hides his feelings, what he thinks, his emotions. He's made it clear that this is something he has a strong feeling about. She gets to decide ultimately what she wants to do in her position of power. But I don't see a problem with the president saying what he believes. By the way, he was the only person that was elected by the American people. He owes it to the American people to say what he thinks on issues like this. It's transparency, and they're talking about it out in public. So this happens a lot with President Trump. And guess what? Almost 99% of the time, they move on from it as well.
Charles, what's your reaction to that? Because obviously these are political appointees serving at the pleasure of the president, but their ultimate audience and who they serve are the American people. And she's made a call that she feels there was not enough to meet her burden of proof and decided to dismiss, and he wants her to revisit this.
Yeah, I think that answer that Ben just gave was absurd because there's an actual human being here who is being charged with something. And if the evidence does not support that that person did what the president says that he did, he cannot be charged. You know, we are flaunting the whole idea of a presumption of innocence in the country. We're flaunting the whole idea that this person may not have done it. And Jeanine Pirro has basically come to the conclusion that he did not do what the president said that he did. And what the president is now saying that I don't care what evidence you have. I want this done because it saves face for me. I want there to have been vandalism and not there have to been reckless application of this kind of coding so that it saves my face. So are we really going to say this person has done nothing wrong and that the president gets to put his thumb on the scale and say, you will be prosecuted anyway because I want it to happen?
Charles, I wish you would have used that same logic when you were going after the president of the United States of America with lawfare year after year after year. When you guys were going after him, trying to put him in jail, trying to stop him from being able to run for re-election, where was this logic? Because I love this. Like, please apply it when you guys were weaponizing the government to go after Donald Trump.
That I went after anybody about lawfare. Please, you got to present evidence or you're not going to lie on me. So let's start with evidence.
Charles,
point out
you and I have debated the Mar-a-Lago raid. You and I debated the attacks on the president in Georgia and in New York.
You and I have not. We've been on.
There is tape of it, my friend. There's tape of it.
I want you to either don't lie, or present your evidence of where I have said going after somebody for the lawfare during the Biden years. Please,
Charles,
present the evidence.
Are you telling me that on TV there is a tape of you saying that the lawfare that was against Donald Trump was wrong? There's a tape of you saying that.
Ben, I'd like you to answer the point. Hold on. I want you to answer the point that you raised because I think it's important and how you both presented the issue. Let me hear the response to this particular issue, which is, do you think that it is appropriate, this is what Charles raised, is it appropriate for President Trump to tell a U.S. attorney to revisit her decision not to prosecute somebody she has determined there was no evidence to pursue or meet her burden of proof? That's a very separate point than a discussion that looks backwards to so-called lawfare. What's your answer to that question?
I think it's appropriate for the President of the United States of America to say what he believes publicly, transparently to the American people. And if he believes that Judge Jeanine got this wrong, I love that there's transparency. I love it's not a backroom phone call. I love that it's not a phone call or an email or a text message. The American people don't know about it. He couldn't be more transparent than what he thinks about this situation and the reflecting pool. Now, ultimately, it's up to the judge to decide what she's going to do in this situation. But I love that we have a president that says it to everyone in the country, instead of maybe going behind the scenes or sending a text or an email or calling a prosecutor and trying to get something done quietly. This is as transparent as it gets. I love a president that does this.
Well, Charles, do you see this as a good thing? I mean, a feather in the cap?
You just heard from a political commentator without a spine.
Well, Ben, do you want to respond to the fact that you've been called spineless?
I'm used to Charles when he gets himself in a bad situation, name calling. It's what his career's been about. I'd expect nothing less from Charles today.
You are spineless. The fact that you are applauding someone,
it's transparency. Transparency is not spineless. Transparency is what the American people want.
I want to hear Charles' response.
Going against the evidence, and you're applauding that. That is a spineless position.
Have you seen all the evidence? I haven't seen all the evidence. You haven't seen all the evidence. The president's seen more than you have seen or I've seen. So, in other words, you're making a lot of crap up right now, saying that there's no evidence. You haven't seen the case. You haven't seen the evidence. You haven't seen what the president saw, Charles.
No, she went to the president with her evidence and with her conclusion, and with the conclusion of the people in the attorney's office that there was no case here. She put out her statement that said that there was no evidence of that. In fact, not only was there not evidence of him doing the damage, but that there was evidence that that it was the fault of the people who installed it. So she put that forward. That is the evidence that I'm saying, that she said that she saw it. That is important to remember.
I go back to the core point.
I'm so happy that it's not a backroom call. I'm so happy that he's doing it in public. I'm so happy that he's abusing the law out in public and not in the back rooms. And that is somehow making you jump up and down with your pom-poms. That's not cute. That's not cute.
What are you doing? You sound ridiculous. When I talk about transparency, let me be clear. There's a difference when this president's transparent and what you guys do, for example, disclosing and hiding and protecting and lying about when Joe Biden had a massive cognitive decline. When you guys were telling everybody that Joe Biden was fine in a cognitive decline, called pathological lying. That's what you guys do on the left. This president's transparent.
Don't say you guys who talking to me. I don't know who you guys are.
Decisions of a former
president on my shoulder, but I don't know who you guys are.
Well, listen, I'm going to give this woman the final word and just say thank you both for joining.
And that's where I'm going to leave it. Because honestly, Charles Blow's central point here is difficult to ignore. The issue isn't whether a president should be transparent about what he believes. The real question is whether political pressure should influence a legal decision after prosecutors have reviewed the evidence. And that's where the transparency argument starts to fall apart. Being public about something doesn't automatically make it right. You can say exactly what you believe in front of the entire country and still be wrong. Then comes the familiar, "What about Biden?" response. Instead of directly addressing the issue in front of them, the conversation gets redirected to something else. But pointing to another political controversy doesn't answer the original question. That is exactly why Charles Blow's response landed so strongly. He kept bringing the discussion back to the evidence and the actual decision that was being debated. And honestly, that's what makes these exchanges so compelling. Forget the political labels for a moment. If the evidence doesn't support a prosecution, the focus should be on the evidence, not on protecting a politician's image. Big credit to Charles Blow for pushing that point so forcefully. Let me know what you think about this exchange in the comments. And if you enjoyed the breakdown, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.